In December 1988, Raphael Rowe was arrested for aggravated murder and robbery. Dubbed the M25-3, Rowe and two other men were sentenced to life in prison without parole. In his book Notorious, Rowe tells the story of his youth, the arrest, his time in prison, the work he did to clear his name and be released from prison, and his subsequent career with the BBC. As I made my way through this book, I could really feel his emotion and exasperation when he was explaining the alleged evidence against him and the struggle he had with the legal system and people within it who seemed to actively work against him. Many times throughout, I tried to put myself in his shoes and think about how I would feel, and Rowe's writing style really helps with that visualization. Throughout the book, he goes into deep detail on some subjects, but at other times glosses over things that seemed to me to be important. For example, in a section when telling a story from his time at the BBC about how he and his crew escaped from the clutches of some diamond merchants, some key details seem to be missing. Here's the passage, so you can judge for yourself. It wasn't long before we noticed that we were being followed. Our quick and quiet escape transformed into a full-blown car chase as we sped down the dirt road to the helipad. It was our only way out. We had no idea who it was that was following us, but if they were anything like the new friends I'd made at our hotel, we did not want to find out. By the skin of our teeth, we were able to outrun them and beat them to the helipad. The only helicopter available was a Russian one so old it would not have looked out of place in a museum. Beggars can't be choosers. We hired it and escaped out of Freetown with our footage, diamonds, and lives intact. After reading that at the time, I couldn't help but think, how close were the pursuers if Rowe and his crew had time to find the owners of the helicopter, explain to them who they were, negotiate terms, and load out their gear and things like that? You don't just pull up to a random helicopter in Africa and get on board. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it certainly seems like there were some details skipped. That aside, the detail he goes into with explaining the timeline of the crimes he was accused of and his parallel movements was excellent, as were the passages about trying to work within the judicial system that seemed dead set on leaving him to rot in prison. It's an inspiring story to read, to follow Rowe as he goes from the darkest depths to a successful career as a journalist, and I felt it was well worth my time to read.